back to Breezing Through. I'm Emily, the host of this channel. Been around for a little while, you know that I've been doing tile mat designs for a few years now. I really like doing these. I bought this mat when we first moved into this house, well, about 6 months after we moved in, because I was sick of the little fibers that come off of regular doormats and having those come in my house. I also really liked that this was interchangeable. You had one mat that you could change. I originally got the white mat, but because of where our porch is and how it gets sun, the sun was discoloring the white mat, and so I switched and I got a black mat. Now, I will say, doing these designs, I went and I looked, and there used to be a design, like a designer on the Letterfolk website. It is no longer there. They also used to sell a bunch of different colors of tiles, and it looks like right now they're just focusing on black and white, which, considering in 2025, I get that. I really do. I haven't bought tiles in a few years. This is just from my collection. So if you already have these tiles, this will give you a good idea. You may be able to find some online, like on eBay or like a secondhand site like Poshmark or like a local site. I'm not sure, but you cannot get them on the Letterfolk site anymore at this moment. So I've got 5 designs for you today. One of them is the Argentine flag, because if you missed it, we spent 6 months in Argentina last year, and I wanted to do an Argentine design. I might do some more later in the year if I do another round of these. I used to do these like every season, but I'm pulling back partially because they're not making as many colors as they used to. So I have the Argentine design. Obviously have a couple silver designs, but the floral designs this year, I've kind of switched up a little bit. In the past, I've kind of just done the flower design that is on the mat, but I've gotten into hand embroidery since we got back from Argentina. I love the idea of like embroidering something on clothing. Not even as like content, just as to keep me from scrolling on my phone kind of thing. And so I've been doing that. And I was looking at these designs for a project that I'm working on, and I thought, oh, that's really cute. I wonder if I could put that on my tile mat. So I have 2 different designs that were inspired by hand embroidery. So I hope you enjoy these. Let's get started. Yes, it is May, and I still have the Valentine's Day design on here. So it's time to get this cleaned up and refreshed. One of my favorite ways to clean my tile mat is just Dawn Power Wash in my sink. I have a massive sink, which I am incredibly grateful for, because there's some things that the builder that built this house that we bought from didn't do well, but the sink is definitely on my list of top 5 things they did well, because I can do things like this in it. I will say I did have somebody comment once when I was making one of these tile mat videos that cleaning my doormat in my sink is how people get COVID, and that this was disgusting. I want to be perfectly clear that I do not do this and then prepare food in my sink without cleaning my sink first. I sometimes wonder about people on the internet, if I'm being completely honest, because that is in fact disgusting. But where else am I supposed to do it? Because I also got in a lot of trouble with the internet when I cleaned it on the outside of my house on the ground, and it washed into, the storm drains. So either way, I'm doing this poorly, according to the internet. But for the rest of you that are watching this, that are paying any kind of attention, this is how I do it. This is how I enjoy doing it. I think it's the best, most efficient way. I feel like if I do it outside, I am more likely to make a mess, honestly, and I feel like I have more control in this thing. As I said before, I've been doing this for years, and this is the first time I'm wearing rubber gloves to do this. I don't know why it took me that long to figure that one out, but here we are. Very, very helpful. Also keeping the sink plugged so that nothing can go down the drain, but a few tiles did end up going down the drain, and I just used my rubber gloves to fish them out. The tiles are also dishwasher safe, if that is something you want to do. I haven't found really much of a difference between washing them with the Dawn Power Wash and putting them in the dishwasher personally, and dishwashers take forever, so I just like to do it in the sink with the Dawn Power Wash and then let them dry and then do my next design, because I typically am doing a design the same time I'm cleaning and taking these off the mat. All right, let's get started on this first design. Like I said, I'm doing the Argentine flag, which consists of 3 stripes, blue, white, blue, with a sun in the middle. I did not have enough of the blue or the white to do a solid stripe for any of them, so I decided to space it out a little bit. First, obviously, I started with the sun in the very middle of the mat, and then I started in with the white tiles. So I'm using 3 rows of the white tiles and just going every other in both directions, so across and down, to create almost a kind of stripey look. It still gives me that look of a full stripe, without filling in all of those spaces because I just don't have enough tiles. I then did the same thing with the blue tiles, both above and below the white stripe, to create the blue stripes. I did discover that there was a spacing issue with the top stripe. I did like having the blue and the white tiles touch, so I did shift those sets of 3 down on that top stripe so that there is an extra row of the tile mat at the top that is not being used, but I just tucked that under my door when I was done with it in the picture, which you will see in a minute, so you can't even actually tell. I did also decide at the last minute to add some rays to the sun because technically the Argentine flag does have sun rays coming off of the sun, and I felt like it looked better this way, so I added a few more yellow tiles to it. And this is what the Argentine flag design looks like. I do like it. It's not what's staying on my tile mat as of right now. You will see what I chose at the very end. All right, next design, I'm going with a summer design here because I don't know where you live, but here in Tennessee, it's gotten up into the 80s and so it's getting kind of warm. So I decided to go with a popsicle design. I've done other popsicle designs in the past, but this time I'm sticking with one popsicle in the middle of the mat. That also allowed the popsicle stick to be a little bit thicker to be more obviously a popsicle stick. And then I went with 3 colors because we all have those nostalgic 3-layered popsicles when we were kids that I thought would be fun. I did go a little funky with the colors. I don't think I ever saw or ate a popsicle that was these colors. Maybe you did, but I did like this color combination together. So this is what I went with. And then I also really liked that it looked like there was a bite taken out of it and there was some dripping off, so I added that little detail to it as well. This is definitely one of the easier designs that I did. They're all pretty simple actually, but this one didn't require a lot of work or a lot of tiles. It looks really cute. It'd be super fun for summer. My porch needs to be cleaned. All right, design number 3, because again, it is May. So since this is my spring summer design post, I'm doing a 4th of July design, and I'm just sticking with super simple kind of in general with this set of designs, and I'm going with red, white, and blue fireworks. I did the white one a little bit smaller than the red and the blue just to give it a little variation and a little bit of something interesting to look at. This is also a super simple design. I'd say this is the most simple, and then the popsicle, then the Argentine flag, and then the 2 following this are going to be the most complicated ones. It's cute. I like it, and it's very simple. Again, doesn't have to be over the top or complicated. And now that I say that, we're going to be a little bit more complicated. So as I mentioned, these are inspired by hand embroidery designs, and I really liked the idea of tulips when I was kind of messing around with designs for this, because you can make a tulip with just using 6 out of the 7 that you'd use to make kind of that normal flower that you can with this mat. But I also wanted to fill in with stems, so I'm doing 3 rows of tulips, red, yellow, and light pink, and then filling that in with a light green for the stems. And when I said this design is a little bit more complicated, it's not that complicated, honestly. I've done ones that were much more complicated, especially the floral ones that take up the entire mat. This one is just really cute, and I decided that it'd be fun to add little butterflies to it just because the top section seemed really blank and empty. So I actually used black tiles that came with my original white tile mat. No, I did not need to actually use them, but I liked the look of having those tiles raised, where if I'd left them, I would have had a height difference, if that makes sense. But I think this is cute. All right, let's do this last design. So again, this is inspired by a hand embroidery pattern. And like with the tulips, I'm gonna go with flowers, but I'm going to be a little bit more adventurous and go with a bunch of different kinds of flowers. This first one is kind of supposed to be a sunflower. You can kind of see it, especially with that first one. It isn't as obvious as I move along and I add more that are kind of touching each other. That is something I'm gonna work on in the future to make this a little bit better, just because I like to improve on how I'm making these. And just like with the tulip design, I'm continuing to fill in the bottom part of the design with stems. This time I'm going back and forth between the green and the light green for the stems, just to give variation, and so you can see the depth difference between different kinds of flowers. Now the second kind of flower, I kind of did like a lavender looking thing, and I thought that was really fun. The next one I did was daisies. Daisies are hands down my favorite flower ever, if anybody cares. I did both a white daisy and a pink daisy, and honestly the rest of these flowers I could not tell you for the life of me what they would actually be, these taller ones, but I liked how they looked. There were things that I saw in embroidery designs, so I thought I would add them as well. And they again give some depth and some height to this design as opposed to just these smaller daisies on the bottom. I did add some tulips in here as well. This is actually where I got the idea for the tulip mat design, and I thought these were a fun set of colors. And at the very end, to kind of use up this top space off to the right, I added a bumblebee, which I thought was really cute. I like the little wings. And again, I did use black tiles to make sure that everything was the same height on the mat. All right, what do you think? Which one is your favorite? I will say, I think the very, very last one was my favorite. And it's what I currently have on my tile mat because I think it's cool. It's just different. It's different than I normally do. I don't absolutely love it. I think there's some things that I need to tweak on design-wise, but it's what I have at the moment. I've discovered that the more I do this and the more I play with it, the better I get at it and the better I like the overall designs that I make. So give me a minute and we'll see how it goes, but that's my favorite for now. So make sure you comment below and tell me which one your favorite is. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and like it. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.